Let us see how we can set up Kafka locally on Mac or PC or Linux. We can have multi-node cluster as well on one machine with different ports. However, it is not good practice for production environment. We will see multi-node cluster setup on simulated environment based on virtual machines at a later point in time. If you are using Windows, make sure you have Ubuntu setup using Windows subsystem for Linux, or you can have VirtualBox or VMware workstation, and you can actually set up any flavor Linux based system so that you can actually set up Kafka in it and then uh, use it for learning. That being said, let us review steps for setup process. First, we need to download Kafka binaries. It is nothing but compressed tarball. We need to untar and uncompress that tarball, which will create a directory. Create soft link pointing to that directory. This will come handy in case of upgrades. Kafka requires Zookeeper to be up and running, and hence, first we need to review the properties related to Zookeeper, start Zookeeper server, then we have to review the Kafka properties and start Kafka server. And we will validate whether everything is up and running or not by actually running certain commands which will create topics in Kafka. Once you finalize directory, the steps are same irrespective of the platform we are using, and we'll be using /opt as the directory. Here I am on Windows based machine and opening Ubuntu, which is set up using Windows subsystem for Linux. Going to opt directory here. So this will be the location where we'll be setting up Kafka. Now I am going back to the documentation, copying this link, opening Chrome on my PC and pasting that, hit enter. Now let us spend some time understanding this page where we'll get downloads of all versions of Kafka. First, you see the latest version of Kafka, which is nothing but 2.0.0. It is the current stable version, and you have source as well as binary downloads. Source downloads are for those guys who want to customize Kafka for their purpose by setting up the development environment and extending the capabilities of Kafka. Binary downloads are for people like us who want to use Kafka to build streaming pipelines or whatever your use case is. That being said, you can see there are two versions of binary downloads. One is related to Scala 2.11 and the other one is Scala 2.12. Kafka is developed using Scala as programming language, and if it says Scala 2.11 or Kafka underscore 2.11, it means that the Kafka binaries are compiled with Scala 2.11 version. And if it says Kafka underscore 2.12, it means it's Kafka binaries compiled with Scala 2.12. And you can see the version of Kafka here, 2.0.0 in either of the cases. Okay, so we'll come back to here and try to download this and set up the Kafka on our Ubuntu using Windows subsystem for Linux. However, if you scroll down, there are older versions of Kafka also. So depending upon your requirements or your projects, you need to make sure that you download the appropriate version of Kafka. Or sometimes we might have to even manage multiple versions of Kafka on your PC. However, we are limiting the scope to one version, which is nothing but the latest one. That being said, now I can click on this link, Kafka underscore 2.12 hyphen 2.0.0, which is nothing but Kafka compiled with Scala 2.12 and Kafka version is 2.0.0. Right click on this, copy link address, go to Ubuntu, which is set up using subsystem for Linux on Windows. Make sure you have wget. Wget is there. Use sudo wget and then paste that URL and hit enter. Once I have authenticated, it started downloading under /opt. Once that is done, we need to uncompress and untar this compressed tarball. If you see the extension of this file which is being downloaded, it is nothing but tgz. T stands for tar, which is nothing but archive. Gz stands for gunzip. So it is actually compressed tarball which is being downloaded. It is done. Now I can say sudo tar xzf, uncompress the tarball and also unarchive it. X for extract, Z for uncompress, and F for all the files in the tarball, and hit enter. Now you can see a directory is created with name Kafka underscore 2.12 hyphen 2.0.0. First, let us change the owner of this directory from root to whatever OS user I am using here, which is nothing but dgadiraju. Okay, so here sudo chown hyphen r means recursively it will change the ownership of each and every file in that directory from root to dgadiraju. Even group I want to change it to dgadiraju and run ls-ltr. You can see the directory ownership is changed to this one. Now let's create soft link pointing to this directory. The command is sudo ln-s kafka underscore 2.12 hyphen 2.0.0 and then Kafka. So it is actually creating a soft link by name Kafka pointing to this one. The purpose of this is, in case if I want to upgrade to Kafka underscore 2.12 hyphen 2.0.1 at a later point in time, once I download that version and untar and unzip, there will be a separate directory created. I can unlink this Kafka, which is pointing to this version of Kafka, and relink to the later version once the setup is done. So it will come handy for the upgrades. The advantage of that is, wherever we have created the environment variables pointing to /opt Kafka, we don't need to touch those things because of the soft link. You will understand that at a later point in time, even if it is not clear for now. You can just create soft link and move forward. Once that is done, you can go to your home directory by running cd command and run ls-altr. Either you will be seeing dot profile or dat bash profile. You have to open that file and then you have to add this additional command export path equal to $path colon opt kafka bin. The advantage of this is we don't need to specify the complete path to access files in this directory, which are nothing but executables to start Zookeeper service or Kafka service, etc. Once the profile is updated, you need to run this command dot space tilde slash dot profile. If you are not sure with this, you just have to exit and launch your Ubuntu basic terminal once again, or whatever Linux flavor you are using, you need to restart the terminal once again if you could not run this profile like this. That being said, in some versions of Linux, you might see .bash underscore profile. You just have to perform the same step in that .bash profile file, if not .profile. That being said, now you can actually type either Zookeeper or Kafka and hit tab, and you should be able to see these shell commands or shell scripts which can be used to start Zookeeper server or Kafka server. Okay, so this actually conclude that we have set up the binaries required to run our Kafka server successfully. Now it is time to review the properties related to Zookeeper, start the Zookeeper, and then review the properties related to Kafka and start the Kafka. To review the properties related to Zookeeper, you just have to go to opt Kafka, because Kafka comes with Zookeeper embedded in it, and hence you can leverage that itself to actually start Zookeeper service. The location for the properties files is nothing but opt Kafka config, and you can see bunch of properties files here. With respect to Zookeeper, we need to review this one, zookeeper.properties. And as of now, there are only 3 properties in this, which are nothing but data directory, client port, and max client connections. So in this case, if I just use this properties file and start Zookeeper, it will be running on port number 2181 using localhost. Okay, so I am exiting from here and then going to my home directory. using zookeeper -server -start.sh daemon, which means the zookeeper will be running in the background, and we have to specify the path of our zookeeper properties, which is nothing but opt kafka config zookeeper.properties, and hit enter. Now the zookeeper service will be started on this machine. We can actually validate by saying telnet localhost 2181 to make sure the zookeeper is up and running. You can see it is um, able to telnet to that IP address and port number. You can also go to opt kafka and logs. Here you will be finding the log files related to our services which are being started on this PC. You can see there is a zookeeper.out and server.log. You can actually review these things to make sure that everything looks good. So here you can actually open server.log and see that there are no exceptions as of now. You can see here reading configuration from opt kafka config zookeeper.properties, and it have successfully started zookeeper service for us. That being said, now I came out of this. Now let us go to the home directory. It is time for us to review Kafka related properties and then start Kafka as well. So the location for the Kafka related properties files are again opt kafka config, and there are a bunch of files here. The main one is server.properties. This is the properties file which will actually tell how Kafka should be running. If you open this server.properties, you can see broker ID to be 0. This is the default ID. On a multi-node cluster, this will be unique on each node in the cluster. And then we need to be aware of important properties such as listeners, advertiser listeners, and all those things. We will be covering those aspects at a later point in time. For now, one of the important property is log.dirs, which is nothing but temp Kafka logs. So this is the location where all your Kafka related files will be created. When I say Kafka related files, Kafka have a concept of topic. A topic is nothing but a group of files, and all those files will be created in this location. We will be coming to this at a later point in time. This is very important property which you need to be aware of. Also, as you guys are aware of, Kafka runs under the Zookeeper, and hence you need to be aware of the Zookeeper related settings. As Zookeeper is running on localhost 2181 port number, we have specified this here. On a multi-node cluster where Zookeeper might be running on multiple nodes, we need to specify the IP addresses and port numbers related to Zookeeper ensemble or quorum, and we will actually talk about those things at a later point in time. That being said, we understood where the properties files will be, and we have reviewed some of the important properties. Now it is time to come out of this, go to home directory, and use kafka -server -start.sh daemon, and then specify the configuration file, which is nothing but opt kafka config server.properties, and hit enter. If you go back to the server.properties file, there is a property at the beginning after broker ID which is nothing but listeners. If you look at the listeners, the default says plain text : //:9092, which means localhost 9092. So 9092 is the port number where Kafka broker will be running by default. And you can validate by saying telnet localhost 9092 and hit enter. And you can see that we are able to telnet using IP address localhost and port number 9092. As we are done with setting up of Kafka and also starting the servers such as Zookeeper as well as Kafka by using daemon so that they can run in the background, now it is time to validate Kafka.